green door, continuing our story, Jesus was arrested. He was not arrested by soldiers who were in charge of the country. He was arrested by soldiers who worked for the temple. So they took him to the high priest, and the high priest had people stand up and tell lies about Jesus. And they asked Jesus about it, and he said nothing. Finally, a man stood up and he said, he claimed to be the Son of God. And the high priest looked at Jesus and said, are you? And Jesus said, I am. That made the high priest so angry that he and all the other priests decided Jesus must die. But they couldn't have Jesus killed. They had to take Jesus to see the ruler of the country, the governor, whose name was Pontius Pilate. So they took him to Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate asked Jesus questions to find out if he was guilty or innocent. And Pontius Pilate finally decided that Jesus was innocent, but he knew that the people weren't going to be satisfied. So he decided he would have Jesus beat up. So he gave him to the soldiers. They put a crown of thorns on his head. They mashed it down so that he bled. They beat him up with a whip. They spit on him. They asked him all kinds of mean questions. And then when they were done, Pontius Pilate took Jesus out to the crowd. And he said, what should I do with him? And at this time, the crowd was very angry. And they yelled, crucify him, crucify him. So finally, Pilate decided they could do that. So he gave him over to the soldiers. Jesus had been beaten so badly, he was so weak, he couldn't carry his own cross. So the soldiers grabbed a man out of the crowd and made him carry Jesus' cross all the way to the hill outside of the city. Now, Jesus wasn't the only one who was going to die that day. There were two robbers. Robbers are people who steal things. So they put Jesus in the middle. They put one robber on his right and one robber on his left. And they put the nails through your hands, then they put rope around your hands, and then they lift up the cross, and then you stay on the cross until you die. Now there were people there who were very happy. They mocked Jesus. They said, come down from the cross if you're the Son of God. There were other people there who were Jesus' friends, his followers, and his mother, and they were very sad. And Jesus looked at John, his disciple, and he looked at his mother, Mary, and he said to John, take care of my mother. And John said that he would. Now, while Jesus hung on the cross, God made the sky get dark. The whole entire time Jesus was on the cross, the sky was dark. After 3 hours of being on the cross, Jesus said these words, it is finished, and then he died. And when he died, there was an earthquake, the ground shook, people who were dead came alive again, and the huge curtain in the temple was torn in half, all the way from the top to the bottom. When the people saw that Jesus was dead, they were very sad, his followers, and they went home. They didn't know what was going to happen. They had forgotten what Jesus had told them. Well, one of Jesus' friends had a tomb. A tomb is a hole in a mountain where they put your body. He took Jesus' body down from the cross. He wrapped him up in a special burial cloth. He had his body carried into the hole in the mountain, and then they rolled a huge stone in front of it, and they went home. They were sad. But the people who didn't like Jesus, they remembered what Jesus had said, that in 3 days he would rise from the dead. So they went back to Pontius Pilate, and they said, you know, he said he would come alive again. But we don't think that's true. We think his followers are going to come and steal his body. So we would like you to put some soldiers on each side of the huge stone so no one can come and steal his body. So that's what Pilate had the people do. He had them take some soldiers, and they stood on the side, each side of Jesus' tomb, and they guarded it. And then Jesus lay in the tomb all Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and Saturday night. Jesus was still in the tomb.